Well, India is about to start its massive census, an exercise that will require the world's largest peacetime mobilization involving 2.7 million workers. And for the first time in nearly 100 years, the census will ask Indian citizens about their caste. Let's get more on this mammoth census with Poonam Muttreja from the Population Foundation of India. Poonam, good to have you with us this evening.
Thank you.
This is a massive exercise. Firstly, what are the key things that you and policymakers are looking out for when the census is completed?
So when the census is completed, we expect transparent data. We expect data on the basis of which policies, programs can be made effectively. There has been we haven't had a census for 16 years. And so we are dealing with outdated data. There's been huge urban migration to urban areas. We don't even know how many children were born in these 16 years. So, childcare, education, the whole planning in the country depends on, and policies depend on the census. But this time, the census is also going to be, is going to define and align the number of constituencies we have in India, parliamentary constituencies. So since the population has increased a lot in southern part of India, we have minus growth rates, while North India continues to have higher growth rates. As a result, we are going to have a situation where we're going to have many more constituencies in the north added, but south will reduce. And finally, there is this great expectation that since the government announced we're going to have reservations for women in parliament.
Yes, you spoke about the issue of the constituencies. I do want to ask the issue that the southern states have been really concerned about, in particular M.K. Stalin, the chief minister of
Yes.
Tamil Nadu. He says that there will be a reduced representation of people from Tamil Nadu and other southern states in the Lok Sabha, the lower house of parliament. Are those concerns warranted, and is that likely to happen once the census population figures are out?
It is likely to happen, and it is a very genuine concern. States that have done well, reducing population doesn't mean you just go and offer or force people to do family planning. It means you invest in women, you invest in education, literacy, health, better infrastructure, better governance, and then to be penalized for doing well is really unfortunate and unfair. But, these are political decisions. They're not based on how well a state has done, sadly. But once the data comes out and shows how well the South has done on so many indicators, I hope that nobody will be punished for empowering women and doing well for development in India.
Yes. And what do you make as well of the fact that caste is being recorded for the first time? How might that help inform policymakers in the future?
So, we've not had a caste census in India since 1936, which was the last time the British did the caste. So we don't know, including caste census is essential if you want to understand and address structural inequalities, which are huge in India. And caste still shapes who gets to go to school, who has access to clean water, who receives quality healthcare, education, and yet a comprehensive caste survey we don't have. So even the investments that we have made in whether it's affirmative action or whatever support the caste, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes have got, we don't know if they have worked. We need to know if they have worked. I mean, let me give you data. We know that they are behind. So we need to invest in scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. And it is the women that suffer the most because they need access to family planning, reproductive health services. I'm not saying men don't need, but men seem to be biologically in a more fortunate situation where they don't have to go through maternal health. So if you look at under 5 mortality to begin with, 50%, we have 50, child mortalities, 50 per 1,000 people, children born. But if you look at scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, it's 32%.
Yes.
Huge gap. Or if you look at only 55% of scheduled caste women and 57% of scheduled tribe women receive adequate antenatal care versus 64% in the rest of the country, or the other higher castes and so on get. So illiteracy amongst, again, there's a huge gap. Without caste disaggregation, how are we going to strengthen them, and how are we going to bring greater inequality? So I believe the caste census is the step in the right direction. It'll help the government enormously in planning and strengthening, and also we'll know what has worked and what hasn't worked.
And on that front, what are you expected to find? Because there is a bit of a litmus test in the form of Bihar. They did their own caste survey 2 years ago and found that there were more people in marginalized castes than previously thought. Might this happen at a national level?
Absolutely. This is going to happen across India. And not only on scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, you'll find that even poor amongst, let's say, minorities like Muslims are very high. So it is going to be facing reality for India. It's going to be a reality check. But at the same time, we will know amongst the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, or the Muslims and other minorities who has done well and what has contributed to doing well, because we can't keep supporting the creamy layer. That's when the society goes against reservation. But so I'm really hoping that we will identify the poor amongst the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and make all the effort in investing in them, and we'll be data-driven and not politically driven, and not caste as a political agenda or a vote-catching agenda, but really programming and planning.
Yes, but the politics is already there, Poonam. What do you say to critics who claim that this caste question may be stoking divisions?
We are a very divisive society where it comes to caste. Even today, a scheduled caste person experiences 50 discrimination on a daily basis. It is a lived reality. And for those of us who want to close our eyes to that and say, this will further disturb. No, this will help us understand. So if you don't believe in caste, for example, and I convince you that we have 50% women who haven't received antenatal care, who have very high maternal mortality, child mortality, and if I give you the figure, then you're going to be convinced.
Yes. And just finally, Poonam, do you see the potential for inaccuracies because this has been delayed by the COVID pandemic? We know that this was supposed to be done earlier, but perhaps do you think we're going to get a more accurate picture of what the population would be, which currently stands at about 1.4 billion? Are we expecting any surprises there?
Right. I'll tell you what surprise we are likely to have, which is the Muslim growth rate is going to decline at the fastest rate. And so that is one surprise for those who believe Muslims are going to overtake Indian population. So that myth will be busted. But going back to your question on beyond surprises, sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, but the overall population figure, what
the overall population,
yes.
India has a record of doing one of the best census in the world, and we've done it for over more than 100 years. This time, they're going to do the enumeration digitally. That's the first time we'll have digital enumeration. And I am worried, as I am sure the government is worried, because you know how many enumerators we have to train? 30 lakh enumerators we are going to have for being trained in not just the methodology of collecting data, but digital enumeration. Second, we have a problem that we don't have connectivity in large parts of the country. So India must prove that it is capable of using technology and getting the numbers accurate. In a digital survey, you're likely to do better in terms of accuracy. But it is going to be a challenge that we hope the government, and given India's advanced technology prowess, it is going to be a litmus test for India.
Okay, Poonam Muttreja, thank you so much for
Pleasure.
making the issue of a census so interesting for us. Thank you.